Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Are you laughing at me already, Mac? I feel like did I do something wrong already?
I'm always laughing at you. Yeah, of course.
Fair enough. So glad I'm going to get a couple days away from you. Today, December 14th, Thursday. Hope you're having a fantastic morning. I'm hopping on a plane after the show today.
It's crazy.
Headed to lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
Amfest,
baby.
Let's go.
It's going to be hype.
Yeah, it's going to be sick, man.
Yeah, we're going to be doing the entire show from Phoenix, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. It's Coachella for conservatives. It's going to be wild. I mean, everybody's going to be there. Patrick Bet-David, Rob Schneider, Roseanne, Tucker Carlson, Vivek Ramaswamy, Steve Bannon, the whole squad. It's going to be a squad. Plus, it's going to be concerts. John and Big and Rich, John Rich. It's going to be wild. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's going to be hype, man.
It's going to be hype.
Jealous. That's going to be great.
Yeah. Trying to get a bunch of interviews lined up. Everybody just tells me no.
I thought it was going to go the other way. Be like, yeah, man, we've got a long list. The Rolodex is growing.
Everybody's like, yeah, I'll let you know. All right. Word.
Ghosted.
Word. Like, Charlie has a radio show at the same time as you, right? It's like, oh, jeez. All right.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. I guess. No, but we're going to have fun. I'm going to have a bunch of guests. I do have some guests lined up. Don't worry. I'm kidding, obviously. Last night, Trump was in Iowa giving a speech, and I like. Did you know that I like Trump?
What?
Yeah. I'm a fan.
Had no clue.
I've come to find that when Trump says something, he's usually probably right. And last night in Iowa, he says, if we're not elected, we're going to have a depression in this country. And part of me says, yeah, he's probably right. He's probably right.
The Biden administration is running on the fumes of the great success of the Trump administration. Without us, this thing would have crashed to levels never seen before. And if we're not elected, we'll have a depression, the likes of which I don't believe anybody has ever seen, maybe 1929. That's what's going to happen. We're running on fumes. With your vote by Christmas, and we're going to have it by Christmas 2024, that's just shortly after the election, because of the momentum of our victory, we will have a U.S. economy roaring back, and in 2025, we'll have one of the greatest economic years this nation has ever recorded. You know that.
I think that he's right. Before Biden was elected, Trump was calling out the fact that we would be in a recession in this country. It's kind of been true. The economy's been in the you-know-whatter since then. I got a little grief yesterday for saying the primary's basically over. People were like, are you just anointing Trump? No. I mean, I'm not trying to anoint Trump, but if you're paying attention to things, it's time to all kind of get on the Trump train, right? Isn't it time? Human Events Daily, Kenny Cody had an article yesterday that I got to read. Time to admit the GOP primary is over and Trump won. So I'm not the only one thinking this. A lot of people are thinking this. As the Secretary of the Interior GOP debates continue to tank in the ratings and President Donald Trump continues to lengthen his lead over Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Chris Christie, it is more evident than ever that the 2024 presidential primary is over. From day one, even when candidates like DeSantis thought they had a chance, Trump would always be the nominee. There were moments during the primary where people thought that either because of the nonsense deep state indictments that the former president had to endure, or that the one state success that Ron DeSantis, Trump was somehow going to be overtaken by a new leader, but that never came to fruition. It has not come to fruition. This article from Kenny Cody at Human Events Daily goes on to say, in the curious case of Ron DeSanctimonious, many in the establishment GOP media and consultant politics have crowned him the next king of the Republican Party due to his electoral success in Florida. And while his 2022 margins in Florida can be admired from rose-colored glasses, his worshipers forget that the only reason DeSantis had any success in his state was because of his imitation and taking of granted of Trump's endorsements in both of DeSantis' election years. Even mainstream media that hate Trump could not help but notice how DeSantis would try and mirror Trump's every hand movement and speaking motion, as well as shift his positions on issues such as foreign policy and deep state corruption to try to appeal to Trump's base that controls the GOP currently. As a result, DeSantis has dropped nearly 30 points since his announcement in the spring of 2023 and continues to dip in the polls as weeks roll by. This guy, Kenny Cody, good guy, smart guy. Maybe he's being a little bit too hard on Ron, but I think that at the core, there is a point here. It's over. It's over. We need to solidify support behind one person, and that's Trump. That's Trump. There's one guy out there that can really pull us out of this. I believe it's Trump, and he has a track record that will prove it from when he was president from 2016 to 2020. His track record proves it.
Crooked Joe puts China first. He puts Asia first, Ukraine first, illegal aliens first, environmental lunatics first. He puts everyone first. He doesn't put me first. He indicts his political opponent because he's doing so badly. We're beating him by 11, 12, 14 points. I saw a poll, 17 points. We're beating him by so much. So he said, what do? Let's indict him.
And a lot of people say, well, hey, I don't know if Trump can beat him. He's leading him in all the polls. People tell me, I don't know if Trump's the guy. I don't know if Trump can beat Joe Biden. He's up. He's up in all the polls. Way up. Way up.
He puts America last. He puts Iowa last. Well, he left Iowa. He left for another state. He left. You don't have that anymore, right? For years you had it. You don't have it. He left Iowa. He puts our workers last. He puts our farmers last. He puts everything that's good last. I put Iowa first. I put America first every single time I do it. It's a real easy one for me to say.
It's real easy to say that Trump will put America first. And we need to get back to America first. We need it. And I don't care what the dishonest media says, because the dishonest media goes after Trump every chance they get. We've heard them in the last few days. Oh, Trump said he's going to be a dictator. He said he's going to be a dictator on day one. Everybody's going after him when he's joking and being sarcastic. Let me tell you this. Do you know what a dictator on day one looks like? Joe Biden's actions on day one look like a dictator on day one. On day one, Biden killed the Keystone XL pipeline. On day one, Biden halted construction of the border wall. That worked out. On day one, Biden rejoined the Paris Climate Accord. On day one, he restored undocumented immigrants and census. On day one, he required masks on federal property. On day one, he rejoined the World Health Organization. My friends, we have a dictator in the office. We have one. And when Trump jokes and says, oh, I'll be a dictator on day one. I'm going to drill and I'm going to close the border. They go, see, he's even admitting it. He says he's going to be a dictator. Well, Trump said last night in Iowa, sarcasm is very dangerous with a dishonest press.
It's just incredible that he can frankly be even running anything. He can't put two sentences together. He's running. Can't find his way off the stage. See all the stairs around here? How the hell do you not? Where is the stair? He says, where is the stair? To show you how evil the press is, I did this routine where I stumbled and mumbled purposely, imitating him, and they put it on. They said, he's cognitively impaired. Then I walked back. I'm looking, and I walk, what? Where? And he walks off the stage, and he's like...
Trump is getting lost on the stage, imitating Joe Biden. The people in Iowa love it.
And they said it was me. I couldn't find... So I can't use sarcasm because they're very dishonest people. Sarcasm is a disaster. Every time I use sarcasm like that, they say, I couldn't find my way off the stage. I got stairs all over. And if you want, it's only about 3.5 feet. I could jump off the front. But this guy can't find his way. So sarcasm's a very dangerous thing with a dishonest press. So, I go through a long story because they actually had me like walking into, it's so sad. I said, do people believe that?
And you know what? Unfortunately, There are people that gobble up the mainstream media and do believe it. They do. There are people that still get spoon-fed the narrative by Mockingbird Media every day, and they eat it up. Although I do think it's getting less and less because those same people are feeling it in their wallet and in their pocketbook every single day. But we need to get somebody that's going to be tough on the border. We need to get somebody that's going to take our national security serious. You know, Democrats now are like, I can't believe Republicans are putting our national security at risk by not funding Ukraine. Really? Really? Our national security has been at risk since Biden took office with his lackadaisical border policy. And we do need a president that's going to actually take this thing serious.
I will immediately restore and expand the Trump travel ban on entry from terror-plagued countries, and I will implement strong ideological screening on all immigrants coming in. If they want to blow up our country, if they want to kill our people, we're not letting them into our country. If you hate America, if you want to abolish Israel, if you sympathize with jihadists and then don't want your country to be great, you don't want America to be great and loving and caring, you're not coming into our country.
You're not coming into our country. Thank you. He's also said he would launch a mass deportation effort. Thank you. We need to get serious. And I think we need to solidify support behind Trump at this point. Can we all get on the same page? Now, I do want to say this. I didn't know this guy was still running. Do you know that Asa Hutchinson is not going to drop out? He's polling at 0%, and he's refusing to drop out.
Surging.
He's surging. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who's a consistent critic of Trump and wants to be president, their reporting is showing no signs of dropping out of the race, despite polling at 0%. I admire that. Not gonna lie. I respect the heck out of that. This guy can't even get on a debate stage, and it's like, no, we're in it to win it, baby. 0%. You can't go any lower. It's only up from there. In a November interview with 4029 News on the Record, Hutchinson signaled that he plans to stay in the GOP presidential race until at least March, expecting, and I quote, dramatic changes by then. I expect there will be dramatic changes as well, although I think it's going to be the other way around. I think we're going to see Nikki Haley drop out soon, Chris Christie drop out soon, and I think that we're going to see a Donald Trump nominee by then. Easily. Now, on the Democrat sides of things, bad day for the Bidens. Very bad day for the Bidens. From the House voting to formalize the impeachment inquiry to Hunter Biden wondering, why are they looking at naked pictures of me in Congress? Well, why do they think that we're up to no good? Unbelievable developments for Hunter Biden. One Democrat thinks that there's no way Joe Biden is going to be electable after the impeachment inquiry. I got news on that, plus more from the Biden scandals and reaction from several Democrats, including AOC, who said, and I quote, "There's no evidence to these alleged allegations." Alleged allegations. Wouldn't it just be allegations? We'll talk about it. Hang out with us. It's 9:19, 9:20. Oh, man, time flies when you're having fun. On Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. Now, I take care of my kids, and one of the ways that I take care of my kids is having a financial plan for the future. Me and my wife are so happy that we linked up with Paul Winkler and Paul Winkler, Inc., not just for our financial future, planning for retirement and all the things that come with that and wanting to live comfortably into our old age, but also paying for college, paying for weddings down the road. We want to have that nest egg ready to go. And we're so happy that we linked up with Paul and his team because we didn't have a financial plan before that. And now we do. And we're glad to be with Paul Winkler, Inc., because Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. Because of that standard, I got to tell you, I'm paid every time this commercial airs. It's the truth. Not why I'm a client, though. I'm a client because Paul can break things down for me in a way that I can understand. In fact, everything that Paul does is education-based, and the investment education they bring to the table is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research. Plus, nothing Paul's team does is done on commission. But they are big on that education. But on the commission side, you can be sure when they give you advice on what to do for your financial future, it is for your financial future and not theirs, because nothing is done on commission. If you don't have a financial plan for your future, listen, you can get one, and you can know who to make it with by setting up a free complimentary 15-minute phone call with Paul and his team right now on his website. I suggest you do. PaulWinkler.com. That's PaulWinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950.
Coming up on Super Talk 99.7, some tornado victims are being told they've got 24 hours to get out. And what a traffic wreck on I-24. It's a mess. Those stories at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Can you explain to the Americans, amid this impeachment inquiry, why you interacted with so many of your son and brother's foreign business associates?
I'm not going to comment on that. I did not, and it's just a bunch of lies.
You didn't interact with many of their business associates?
I did not. They're lies.
One of Hunter Biden's former business partners testified before the House Oversight Committee Monday in a closed-door meeting. Archer testified that Hunter Biden put his father, who was vice president at the time, on speakerphone multiple times during business meetings.
Lies.
Archer said that Hunter Biden was selling the Biden family brand. In his view, that Joe Biden had brought the most value to this brand.
It's just a bunch of lies.
And in the case of this Ukraine energy firm, Archer testified that he thought the firm would have gone out of business if they didn't have that Biden family association.
Lies.
Joe Biden was using multiple false aliases, fake email names, in his dealings about Ukraine during the Obama White House while his son was making money in Ukraine.
The evidence is so clear you cannot look away, and the Constitution requires the House to follow the truth where it leads. We have a duty to do this. We cannot stop the process.
And they have not stopped the process. In fact, the process is ongoing. They have officially voted to kick off that impeachment inquiry. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. A lot of Democrats are very upset about this, including one of our favorites, AOC. You heard there talking about all the evidence that was leading up to this impeachment inquiry. AOC says there's no evidence at all. Oh.
That not only is the committee not allowing Hunter Biden to testify publicly, but they have not called a single witness, a single first-hand witness.
Devin Archer, Tony Bobulinski, I don't know.
To any of their allegations. They haven't allowed anybody to testify publicly because they do not have a single witness to any of their alleged allegations. They don't.
Oh, nothing. It's just alleged allegations. Weird. 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's Joan Jones with the news.
9:30 right now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got your full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. You are in a mess of a traffic jam. If you're traveling on I-24 westbound this morning, it is stop and go from Sam Ridley Parkway, exit 66 until Haywood Lane, exit 57. They've got a couple of right lanes blocked off there because of an accident. Right now in Tennessee, victims of the tornado outbreak are eligible for federal assistance. President Biden giving the green light yesterday. Anyone needing assistance in 4 counties, Davidson, Dixon, Montgomery, and Sumner counties, can now apply for federal help with housing and home repairs, uninsured property losses, and other programs. Well, for folks living in a Clarksville apartment complex, they're scrambling to find another place to live after being told they have 24 hours to get their belongings out due to tornado damage.
They sent a mass email to people at 4:03 p.m. yesterday.
That's LaToya Outlaw. She tells Channel 4 that the email said the complex is unlivable because of the storms. Meantime, a second shelter has opened up for people in Clarksville at the Spring Creek Baptist Church on Trenton Road. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is heading to Israel today. He's got a series of high-level meetings about the war in Gaza and what can be done to free the more than 130 hostages still being held there. The U.S. and the president have been more critical of Israel's military tactics recently, as more civilians in Gaza are struggling to find safety. That is the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, Investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
They displayed naked photos of me during an oversight hearing. And they have taken the light of my dad's love, the light of my dad's love for me, and presented it as darkness. They have no shame.
Says the man that posts naked photos of himself smoking crack cocaine on the internet, Hunter Biden. Yes, it's Republicans with no shame. No shame at all. Weird. 9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. If you haven't seen it yet, these comments from Hunter Biden about the no shame.
They have no shame.
Somebody took the video and posed, took his outfit off and put the picture of him where he's standing in his underwear with the red scarf on. You know that famous photo?
Oh, yeah.
And they superimposed that over him at his little press conference. And made him do like a little thrusty dance while he's doing his press conference. So he's saying this.
They have no shame.
In his underpants. If you want to see that, it's on my Twitter, at Chris Hand on Air. But I mean, this guy, Joe's only guilty. He's only guilty for loving his son too much. And, those evil Republicans, what they've done to that love.
The light of my dad's love for me, and presented it as darkness.
Oh. So sorry, Hunter. It's got to be tough. It's got to be tough, right? To be one of the Biden kids. I mean, shoot. Just read the daughter's diary. It's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. Hunter was giving statements yesterday outside of the house, and I agree with Murphy. I don't know if you listened to Murphy's show yesterday, but Murphy says, it's a missed opportunity of Comer and those guys to not just let him testify publicly. Like, they should have just done that. Totally agree. But he was outside, and he did make some statements, and part of his statements was, calling it an illegitimate investigation.
I'm here today to answer at a public hearing any legitimate questions Chairman Comer and the House Oversight Committee may have for me. I'm here today to make sure that the House Committee's illegitimate investigations of my family do not proceed on distortions, manipulated evidence, and lies.
Oh, it's all lies. It's all lies. Don't worry about the bank records. Don't worry about the potential FARA violations. Don't worry about the payments to the big guy, 10% to the big guy. Don't worry about what Devin Archer says. Don't worry about what Tony Bobolinsky says, because, my friends, it is all lies.
And lies.
Lies. It's all lies. And then I don't know if you caught this, but during his little presser, They once again pivoted. Joe had no discussions about Hunter's business. Joe didn't know anything about Hunter's business. He talked on the phone with some business partners, but it was about the weather. To now, Hunter himself saying, well, he wasn't financially involved.
Let me state as clearly as I can. My father was not financially involved in my business. Not as a practicing lawyer, not as a board member of Burisma, not in my partnership with a Chinese private businessman, not in my investments at home nor abroad, and certainly not as an artist.
Oh, definitely not as an artist. Certainly not. Which it makes me laugh, because we know that because of his art being sold, at least it appears that there was a woman who got a prestigious board-appointed position from Joe Biden. Now, he says he wasn't financially involved, but we know Hunter rode on Air Force Two to all these countries. He wasn't financially involved. 10% for the big guy. He's not financially involved. Okay. All right. Let's take it at face value. I agree with what Murphy said yesterday. Comer, the House Oversight Committee, should have just let him testify publicly. But Rep. Comer says, Hunter Biden doesn't get to dictate the terms of a subpoena. And this is after he held the press conference instead of appearing for his closed-door deposition. James Comer told reporters that Hunter Biden does not get to dictate the terms of this subpoena. That's what he said.
All right, well, I'll say what I said just a moment ago. Chairman Jordan and I have been very clear. We issued a lawful subpoena to the president's son. This has been a 10-month investigation, a credible, transparent investigation that has produced a lot of troubling evidence. We have lots of questions. Hopefully you all have had an opportunity to go in the committee room and see the boxes of documents that we've accumulated, tens of thousands of pages of documents. We have lots of specific questions. This is an investigation about public corruption at the highest levels of our government. The American people expect Congress to investigate this because I think one thing that Chairman Jordan's proven is the FBI, the DOJ, and the IRS, as we've heard from the whistleblowers, have all dropped the ball. So the House Oversight, House Judiciary Committee are conducting this credible investigation that an overwhelming majority of Americans want. We have specific questions for the president's son. He does not get to dictate the terms of this subpoena.
He doesn't get to dictate the terms of the subpoena, but he ignored the subpoena. I mean, yesterday morning, he held the press conference on Capitol Hill. He denied that his father had any financial involvement with his business dealings, and I think that's important to highlight. But the appearance indicated that Hunter was refusing to comply with the closed-door deposition, which he was subpoenaed for. He offered to testify publicly instead. Unbelievable. You know, previously it's been reported that the Hunter Biden being subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee, happening on November 8th is part of the inquiry into the Biden family's business dealing and a potential presidential impeachment. We saw yesterday that the presidential impeachment inquiry is official. A lot of people weren't very happy about that. A lot of people think that, they're weaponizing Hunter against Joe. I think it's the other way around. I think Joe was using his drug-addicted son to make money personally. That's how it looks to me. But doesn't stop Democrats from saying, no. You can't, they're using Hunter's addiction against Joe. And many members of the Democrat Party were saying that, including Jim McGovern.
And Republicans are weaponizing this addiction and using it to attack President Biden, a man of decency and integrity.
Oh, wait. What did he say about President Biden?
President Biden, a man of decency and integrity.
Are we talking about the same guy that sniffs little kids? Is that who he's talking about?
A man of decency and integrity.
The guy that had kids rubbing down his leg hair in the pool? We talking about that guy?
A man of decency and integrity.
Okay. Weird, right? A man who besmirched Corn Pop for defending the kids at the pool.
A man of decency and integrity.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the jokes. Got the jokes.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, do you really think Joe's a man of decency and integrity? He lies nonstop. He's trashed the economy, the southern border wide open. Oh, decency and integrity. Okay, McGovern.
Frankly, it's one of, if not the most despicable things I've seen in my whole career here in Congress.
I feel like that's a lie. I don't even want to go down that road. I feel like there's many more despicable things that we could have seen in Congress. Nader also was pretty upset that they were using Hunter Biden's drug addiction and weaponizing it against the president.
They have no evidence, of course, to support this inquiry. But since this majority never lets facts get in the way of a good set of Fox News talking points, here we are.
Oh, there's no evidence. Again, I mean, Tony Bobolinsky, Devin Archer, bank statements, emails, alias emails. There's no evidence at all. It wasn't all the Democrats saying that we should just let this slide. One Democrat was standing alone saying, you know what? This impeachment inquiry makes Biden unelectable. Of course, this guy's running for president himself. I'm talking about Democrat Dean Phillips. He said the impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden perhaps makes him unelectable. Dean Phillips, Democrat out of Montana, who's running for president. That's what he said. Phillips' willingness to target Biden over the impeachment inquiry, this from Breitbart.com, demonstrates a political vulnerability for the president as he looks to face off again against former President Donald Trump, the likely GOP nominee. Phillips told Semaphore, I don't see the evidence of it, but yes, when your own son and your own brother are clearly, at the very least, unethical and at worst doing illegal things, my goodness, of course, the country pays attention to it. And I think a lot of people are going to pay attention to this. Some of the closest people in your life, your brother and your son, are definitely involved, at the very least, in unethical, and I would argue illegal. Phillips was also questioned about whether the impeachment proceedings would coalesce Democrats around Biden, as Republicans mostly united behind Trump during his 2 impeachment proceedings. And Phillips said people do believe that it perhaps makes him unelectable. Somehow it conflates him with the Trump family's indiscretions. The House is set to vote. They were set to vote yesterday to formalize the impeachment inquiry. They did that. The full House vote, they said, would be a test for Republicans because they were worried that it wouldn't get through. But it did. It did. And here we are. I say good. I think it should have happened a long time ago, and I wonder if it's too little too late. I don't see it ever getting through the Senate if it ever goes into a full impeachment proceedings, but we'll see what happens. At the very least, it opens the door for them to get a lot more evidence out. Now, back to Hunter Biden. He ditched this subpoena. He didn't go for that behind closed door conversation with Comer and the House Oversight Committee. And apparently, James Comer and Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan have initiated contempt of Congress proceedings against Hunter Biden after he failed to appear for a subpoenaed closed-door deposition. This is also from Breitbart. If prosecuted and convicted for contempt of Congress, Hunter Biden's punishment could be up to a $100,000 fine and imprisonment. Now, I think he should be prosecuted for contempt of Congress. In fact, his dad is on record saying that if you ignore a subpoena, you should be prosecuted for it. This is Joe Biden back in 21, granted, talking about Republicans.
Your message to people who defy congressional subpoenas on the January 6th committee.
I hope that the committee goes after them and holds them accountable.
Should they be prosecuted by the Justice
Department?
Yes.
I do, yes. They should be prosecuted. I do. I mean, let's not forget, Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon were indicted on contempt charges for not complying with the illegitimate J6 committee. Let's not forget that. Let's not. We should be holding Hunter to the exact same standard. The exact same standard. And the J6 committee was an absolute joke. But pendulums, they swing. And if they're going to use that against Republicans, then we should use that against Democrats. We should. And I think that Hunter deserves nothing but a full prosecution and being held in contempt of Congress. Throw the book at him. Please. Please. But yeah, very bad day for the Bidens. Formalizing the impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden. Hunter Biden doing Hunter Biden things. And if you haven't seen the video of him giving his statements on Capitol Hill in his red scarf and underpants,
it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. At Chris Hand on Air, find that. 9:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Coming up here on Super Talk 99.7, Vladimir Putin may be ready to free some detained Americans. And Rudy Giuliani makes a move in a case against him. Those stories coming up at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. It's 9:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As the Hunter Biden investigations and the impeachment inquiry progress, we're learning now that Leslie Wolf, the prosecutor accused of working to limit questions about the big guy in the Hunter probe, is out at the DOJ. Fox News has this story this morning. It's actually just breaking about an hour ago. Leslie Wolf left the DOJ weeks ago, a source said. She was the assistant U.S. attorney who was accused of limiting questions related to President Biden during the federal investigation into Hunter, and she's no longer employed by the Justice Department, Fox News has learned. Leslie Wolf was the assistant U.S. attorney in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware, no longer with the DOJ. The source said Wolf had long-standing plans to leave the Department of Justice. It was long-standing plans. This is nothing new. Trust us. Trust us, said the source. Trust me, bro. Wolf was the one that IRS whistleblowers claimed slow-walked the Hunter Biden investigation. And that's interesting. I find that fascinating that she's out now. It was long-standing plans. The source said, trust me, bro. So, yeah, I trust that. Specifically, it was IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley that alleged that Leslie Wolf worked to limit questioning related to President Biden and apparent references to Biden as dad or the big guy. That story is developing. We'll have updates for you as they come in. Hunter Biden chaos could ruin things for his dad's reelection bid, say some Democrats. They're calling it an unwelcome distraction. An unwelcome distraction. That seems like an understatement. We have more on that after the news. Hang out with us. It's 9:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 43 chilly degrees right now. We're headed to near 60 today. We've got more in the full forecast in 2 minutes. A couple of accidents to tell you about this morning in Columbia. There's I-65 northbound between Columbia, which is exit 46, and Saturn Parkway, exit 53. It's all stop-and-go traffic right now. And the intersection in Riverfront at 2nd Avenue at Broadway, that's blocked right now. Fire crews have got that blocked off. Be careful. Other news of the day, Russian President Vladimir Putin is saying there would be no peace in Ukraine until his goals are achieved. He said those objectives remain unchanged. That tough talk coming from his year-end news conference. He also said he wants to reach an agreement on freeing the Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan. He's a Marine and corporate security executive who's been detained in Russia for 7 years. Turns out former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani is not going to testify in the defamation case against him, now being heard in federal court in Washington.
It's an abrupt reversal. Rudy Giuliani had indicated that he would take the stand in his own defense, but now Giuliani's attorney says he won't. A jury of 8 has already heard tearful testimony from Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shay Moss. They told of an onslaught of harassment following Giuliani's false claims that the Georgia election workers took part in voter fraud. The judge has already found he defamed them. The jury will now decide how much the cash-strapped former mayor owes them in damages.
That's ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy. Tennessee officers and the U.S. Marshals Service looking for a 22-year-old man wanted in the death of a child in Putnam County. Ashton Cole Sensing is believed to be in the Ashland area now. Police aren't giving any more details, though, about the child's death. So many people are moving into Rutherford County. The schools are busting at the seams. Now county commissioners want a new school and more help for the fire department, EMS, and jails. And you know what that means. There's a need for more money to pay for it all. Commissioners are looking at new impact fees tied to real estate and other professional-type fees. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
10:04 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I posted the video of Hunter Biden making statements on the Capitol, except somebody on the internet reimagined it with the picture, the now famous picture of Hunter Biden in his underpants wearing just a scarf. And one of the guys on Twitter that I follows me. He commented, Dorsey's conservative nose ring is the account. He commented, he said, "It's been cold, y'all. Be sure to bring crackheads inside. If you're cold, they're cold, and that scarf won't cut it." If you haven't seen the video, the new meme, the video meme, at Chris Hand on Air, go check it out. It's classic. It's classic. It's not as good as the or provocative as the Nutcracker celebration at the White House that Joe Biden posted, which was that was a real video. It wasn't a meme. That was pretty good. I know you probably heard Dan talking about it. Did you see the Nutcracker White House video?
I did. Yeah, oh yeah.
What'd you think about it?
I think they know how to be different. That's for sure.
Different. That's such a nice way to put it.
Very diplomatic of me.
Yeah, very diplomatic. So I thought it was weird. Part of me was like, who would go see this in like a theater?
Yeah, who's paying?
I'm upset I watched it on Twitter. I don't know who would buy those tickets. I wonder how much. Look up. Do you know what Nutcracker people were doing it?
No, I'll have to.
Let's find out how much tickets are to go see that gang of eclectic individuals. Is that a good way to put it?
That was nice.
You
Yeah,
like that?
wow, look at you. Here we go. Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Let's
Stand by.
Let's find out how much tickets are to go see those people live. Because we might have a holiday trip in front of us, Mac. You and me, and the most eclectic Nutcracker ever.
It's a Russian composed Nutcracker.
What? I thought. Well, hold on a second. Just yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries was on CNN, and he accused the Republicans of being a pro-Putin caucus. This is just yesterday, and
that remains to be seen because the pro-Putin caucus of the House Republican Conference is extreme, it's loud, and it's growing.
Well, I'll tell you what. This Nutcracker celebration, if it's true that they're Russian, it is true that they're extreme, loud, and growing. Does that make the Democrats the pro-Putin caucus for inviting Russian Nutcracker performers into the White House?
I think the performers are American. Yeah, I'm learning more about this. I don't know. It's Duke Ellington and Billy Stayhorn's interpretation of Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Suite. So maybe just the creator of the Nutcracker was Russian. I'm confused now. I don't know.
You're confused? I'm confused.
I'm confused.
I think the performers look a little confused as well. Joe Biden posted this thing with everything going on. Joe's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post our Nutcracker performance. That'll send some good vibes. It's weird. The only thing it was missing was like a topless transgender man. But they already did that this year, so I guess they didn't want to do it twice. It's been a wild couple days for the White House. In fact, they're saying Hunter Biden chaos could ruin things for his dad's reelection bid. I don't know if the Hunter stuff is going to ruin things. I feel like the economy's going to ruin things. But Breitbart News has this story. Continual news generated by Hunter Biden and his legal conflicts damages President Joe Biden's reelection campaign with undue controversy and distractions. Democrats openly complain. Hunter Biden chaos amid his father's reelection campaign is just one more communications problem with which the president's campaign staff must contend. It's a communication problem? It's a communication problem. Weird. I would think it's going to be legal problems and corruption problems, and it's a communication problem. Good to know. I'm glad they cleared that up. But they're saying Joe's age, mental fitness, and sluggish economy seemingly sunk his approval rating to historic lows, and now he has to deal with this. Biden, least popular president in modern U.S. history. CNN poll has him at 67% disapproving of his economy, the top issue. Redfield and Wilton strategies, a majority of Democrats are concerned about Biden's ability to perform his job due to his age. And now his crackhead son is out there ignoring congressional subpoenas. A Democrat strategist who worked on the Clinton 2016 campaign says she has a pit in her stomach about the chaos surrounding Hunter Biden. She said the email controversy was silly, but it was made to be a distraction, and it worked. Hillary's email strategy was silly. Classic Democrat strategist. She said, this Hunter story has legs to ruin things for Biden. It's got some legs on it. And they don't have social media platforms to just say, censor that anymore because of Elon Musk. Democrat strategist Brad Bannon told The Messenger that Joe Biden's son is just one more challenge facing the president's reelection campaign. In fact, he said, Hunter Biden isn't the biggest political problem that his father faces, but the situation is an unwelcome distraction for an embattled president burdened by concerns about the economy and age. I think that those are the two biggest concerns. We heard Jasmine Crockett yesterday saying, I haven't seen any signs of dementia. It's a speaking impediment that's slipping back out. But, Hunter is becoming a distraction, to say the least. Jim Jordan is disappointed that Hunter didn't show up for the subpoena, the behind closed doors deposition. And he's saying, we're going to get the ball rolling on prosecuting him for that.
We're disappointed that he didn't show up. I mean, he was just across the way at the Capitol. You think he could have come here and sat for questions. If you do it in an open format now, you're going to get filibusters, you're going to get speeches, you're going to get all kinds of things. What we want is the facts. And the way you get the facts, in every single investigation I've been involved in, is you bring people in for an interview behind closed doors where you can get those facts. And then, as the chairman said, we'd love for him to come public. Finally, I would say this. Mr. Biden's counsel and the White House have both argued that the reason he couldn't come for a deposition was because there wasn't a formal vote for an impeachment inquiry. Well, that's going to happen in a few hours. We think it's going to pass. We think the House of Representatives will go on record with the power that solely resides in the House to say we are in an official impeachment inquiry phase of our oversight. And when that happens, we'll see what their excuse is then. They should have been here today, but once we take that vote, we expect him to come in for his interview, for his deposition. And frankly, we'll also, I think, look at contempt proceedings as we move forward.
I hope that they do hold him in contempt. I hope they do prosecute him for that. But we'll see what happens. Color me shocked if Republicans don't end up doing anything about it. But again, Democrat strategist Brad Bannon says that the controversy about Hunter Biden's financial dealings may play the same role for Republicans that Hillary Clinton's emails did in 2016. And again, I go back to the fact that you no longer have control of all social media platforms. I think that the laptop should have played the same role that Hillary Clinton's emails did in 2016, but they were able to suppress that story. You can't suppress this stuff anymore. House Oversight Ranking Member Jamie Raskin, a Democrat out of Maryland, who's leading the Democrats' opposition on the impeachment inquiry, refused to say whether Hunter hurts Joe Biden's campaign. He was quoted saying, "I don't know whether or not it's hurting him. I hope that the American people are able to see past it." If they've seen any of the photos from the laptop, their eyes are burning. He added, they figure that this is their best shot to create a dark cloud over the Biden family and hope that affects Joe. I'm sorry. This is our best shot? I mean, the economy is in shambles. Joe Biden has gaffe after gaffe. And we can go all the way back to Afghanistan. I highlighted earlier, everybody gets on Trump about being a dictator. Biden's actions on day one of his presidency, he killed the Keystone Pipeline. He halted construction of the border wall. He rejoined the Paris Climate Accord. He restored undocumented immigrants in census. He required masks on federal property. He rejoined the World Health Organization. I think Biden has plenty of dark clouds over his head. You can look at Afghanistan leaving all the equipment behind. You can look at the wide open border. I don't think we need the Hunter Biden scandal to kind of put a cherry on top of Joe Biden's failures as a president and to, put a dark cloud over his election. It helps. It helps. Recent polling is showing that Americans are highly skeptical of Hunter and Joe Biden. An ABC News Ipsos poll said a plurality of Americans are not confident about how the Justice Department has handled the investigation into Hunter Biden. Yahoo YouGov poll has a majority of voters believing that President Joe Biden committed a crime with Hunter Biden. 63% of those polls say Joe Biden violated FARA by assisting Hunter Biden in the Ukraine deal. We can go on. I mean, the polling numbers don't look good for Joe Biden. But do we need Hunter to really sell the fact that Joe Biden is a terrible president? Talk to a military member that was kicked out over a vaccine mandate. I mean, that'll tell you all you need to know about Joe Biden as a president. Seriously, one failure after another. And Breitbart has an exclusive with a Green Beret veteran, John Frankman, who says the Army's letter to soldiers discharged for refusing the COVID vaccine, basically begging them to come back, won't make things right. I mean, last month, the Army sent a letter to thousands of soldiers who were discharged for refusing to comply with the Joe Biden COVID-19 shot mandate. That letter stated that as a result of the recession of all current COVID-19 vaccination requirements, former soldiers who were involuntarily separated for refusal to receive the vaccine may request a correction of their military records. It also stated individuals who desire to apply to return to service should contact their local recruiter. Recruitment numbers are down across the board, and I think it's because of our failure of a president that we have now. It doesn't seem like Joe Biden has the military's back. It doesn't seem like Joe Biden has the country's back. Joe Biden looks out for Joe Biden. So I don't think we need the Hunter, controversy to really put a dark cloud over Joe Biden's head. But seriously, the Hunter stuff yesterday doesn't look good. And his comments are just absurd.
They displayed naked photos of me during an oversight hearing. And they have taken the light of my dad's love, for me, and presented it as darkness.
Oh.
They have no shame.
Says the man who put naked photos of himself on the internet. There is a report that it was Eric Swalwell, the guy that sleeps with Chinese spies. Eric Swalwell was the one who arranged the press conference for Hunter Biden. Good company to keep, right? That was so yesterday when Hunter Biden delivered those remarks at a press conference outside the Capitol, only one Democrat lawmaker was there in support, and it was Eric Swalwell. And the reports are saying it was Swalwell that arranged for Hunter Biden's appearance. Swalwell told Politico his decision to do so was personal as well as political. He said, "There's absolutely zero evidence that Hunter or his father acted corruptly. So I'm not going to sit quietly and let MAGA Republicans do Trump's bidding in Congress." Swalwell himself, as we all know, came under fire from Republicans for his association with the Chinese spy Fang Fang. But it was Swalwell that set this up. Swalwell. Not shocking. Not shocking. Not shocking at all. But what do you think? Do you think that we need the Hunter Biden scandal to prove that Joe Biden is a terrible president, a terrible candidate? 615-737-9986. I don't know. I think that there's enough to go on that will sink Joe Biden without the Hunter stuff. But it seems like the Hunter stuff's going to come out one way or another at one point or another, whether the Democrats like it or not. Whether the Democrats like it or not. And they're nervous about it. They are. They're nervous. This is going to sink Joe. Democrats are piling on like Dean Phillips. Other Democrats are trying to separate themselves from this. Other Democrats are saying there's no evidence at all. And the media will cover for the Bidens, as they always do. Hakeem Jeffries was on with CNN, and he was covering for the Bidens. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries says what a lot of Democrats say. There's zero evidence that Joe Biden engaged in any wrongdoing.
What we do know is that there is zero evidence that President Biden has engaged in an impeachable offense. There is zero evidence that President Biden has engaged in any wrongdoing whatsoever. There is zero evidence that President Biden has broken the law. The Republicans have now reviewed more than 100,000 pages of documents, heard from many witnesses, and they can't find a scintilla of evidence to justify this impeachment inquiry.
Not a scintilla. Not a scintilla. Don't look at the bank records. Don't look at the emails. Don't look at the calls to business partners. Don't look at the photos, the texts, the visitor logs, the sworn testimony detailing the influence peddling and corruption. That is not evidence if you're keeping score at home, according to Hakeem Jeffries. It's 1020 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Don't forget, you can listen to the show wherever you go with the TuneIn app, the iHeartRadio app, and more. You can even download the 99.7 WTN app. Just go to your app store. Download the buttons. It's free. For free. Free. Hang out with us. It's the Chris Hand Show on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Coming up on Super Talk 99.7, Benjamin Netanyahu stands his ground, and Nolensville Pike is about to get an update. Those stories at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. It's 10:24 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. I have a story here I'd love to get your opinion on. 615-737-9986. The Pentagon is going to remove a memorial to Confederate dead from Arlington National Cemetery. GOP lawmakers are trying to stop it. What do you think about it? 615-737-9986. Now, the memorial that they're trying to remove is the Reconciliation Monument. They say it would be a clear affront to the separation of powers principles outlined by our founding fathers in the Constitution. A group of Republican lawmakers are attempting to stop the Pentagon from taking out the Confederate monument belonging to Arlington National Cemetery. Led by Rep. Andrew Clyde out of Georgia, the group of lawmakers penned a letter to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Monday that demands he leaves the Reconciliation Monument, also known as the Confederate Memorial, untouched until at least the conclusion of the fiscal year 2024 appropriations process. I don't know if you're asking woke Lloyd Austin, I think you're barking up the wrong tree. The monument was set to be taken out by the Pentagon's Naming Commission, a group formed to rename and remove military installations named after the Confederacy. This came in the wake, obviously, of the Summer of Love and the 2020 Black Lives Matter riots, Fox News reports. But they're saying the Arlington Reconciliation Monument will be removed likely 5 days from now. 5 days. It's a really nice statue. People are saying they still hope for Congress to step in, but they don't see it happening. Do you guys remember when they said monuments and cemeteries would remain untouched? Well, they were lying. Now, despite bipartisan support for this monument, the Naming Commission established by the fiscal year 2021 National Defense Authorization Act clearly overstepped its legislative authority when it recommended that the Department of the Army remove the Reconciliation Monument from Arlington National Cemetery, the lawmakers wrote. The Arlington National Cemetery website confirms this removal, with a section stating that as required by Congress and implemented by the Secretary of Defense, Arlington National Cemetery is required to remove the Confederate Memorial located in Section 16 of ANC. Deborah in Winchester, you're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What do you think about them taking down this monument?
It's an absolute travesty.
Tell me why, Deborah.
Those people fought for what they believed in that was in line with the Constitution, and it's just ridiculous. They keep going after the stuff.
Yeah,
those were patriots. They belong there.
I'm with you, and it seems like they go after everything. It seems like there's nothing that they're going to leave untouched. They just want to take down all the history.
Yeah, and we have a group that has been inundating the phone lines up there, telling them to leave it alone and trying everything they can to keep it there.
Well, hey, I thank you for the call, Deborah. I appreciate it. Let's go to Scott in Nashville. You're next on the monument. Scott, what do you think about them taking this down?
I think it's bull crap, and they're trying to erase history with the Democrats. See, back in the Civil War, the Democrats led the South, and they're trying to erase all involvement of their dirty handling in history.
Yep.
That's what it's about. It's not about paying for the sins of the past. It's just bull crap, and they're just doing this to, try to put a better face on the Democrat Party.
Well, and the thing that I think is wild is that this monument is the Reconciliation Monument. It doesn't honor, it doesn't commemorate the Confederacy. It commemorates the reconciliation and national unity.
They want to get rid of all records of the Democrat Party even involved. If they could get rid of the Civil War and completely, they would do that too.
Yep. Hey, I can't say you're wrong, Scott. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. They're saying, furthermore, the Naming Commission's authority explicitly prohibits the desecration of grave sites. Considering the hundreds of gravestones encircling the monument, it would be impossible for these graves to remain untouched if the Department of the Army proceeds with its proposed removal of the monument, both being a clear violation of Congress's enacted statute and legislative intent. Let's go to Tony in Kentucky. What are your thoughts on the monument, Tony?
Hey, Chris,
Well, kind of tying in a little bit to that, the left calls us the election deniers. We need to call them the evidence deniers relating to Biden and Hunter.
I like it.
Trying to tie that in is kind of not on the right segment, but trying to get in through to you.
Hey, the truth is the truth, Tony. I appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much. I'll take more of your calls on this story about them removing the Reconciliation Monument after Joan Jones's news, which happens right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
10:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got your full forecast coming up in just a couple of minutes. Got an update on the Israel war against Hamas. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pledging today to push on until his troops are victorious at stripping away Hamas. His comments come despite condemnation from some leaders around the world over an increase in civilian deaths in Gaza. Nolensville Pike is about to get a safety facelift. The Department of Transportation announcing a $13 million federal funding to help improve a stretch of that road where several deadly accidents have taken place recently. The money will go to repairing sidewalks, adding pedestrian lighting, and improving crosswalks and bus stops. Residents of a Clarksville apartment complex are packing up as quickly as they can after surviving Saturday's tornado. Bluegrass Meadows Complex has sent the residents an email to say that building has been condemned and they've got only 24 hours to get out. The rental office has not responded to requests for comment. Well, do you know anyone who is using the drug Ozempic or Wegovy for weight loss? There's a trend of people overdosing on them.
While compounded versions of semaglutide, less expensive but not approved by the FDA, account for a small amount of overdose calls, U.S. Poison Control Centers say that's likely an underestimate because all exposures are self-reported. The FDA warned in June that compounded semaglutide could be unsafe, saying that it may not contain the same ingredients as the FDA-approved form of the drug.
That is ABC's Dave Packer, and that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. Two big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
10:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I love the Andy Ogles commercials. I do. I like Andy, friend of the show. He could come on and talk about all that stuff for free, too.
He could.
He's got my number. Just saying. All right, we were talking about the Pentagon removing the memorial to Confederate dead from Arlington National Cemetery. I want to get your thoughts on it. So let's go to Billy in the Borough real quick, who has a comment on the monument. Billy, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey, Chris, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to the WTN universe.
Thank you, brother. Merry Christmas.
Listen, I got a couple things. I'll be quick because I know that you're busy. But this morning, when you said that only kids watch other kids on Twitch, I gotta tell you, you're a little wrong there. Because I'm an old retired vet, and a bunch of guys that I know that are in the military, we all get together and play Call of Duty on Twitter.
All right. I will retract my statement from earlier, Billy.
Okay, we actually do more complaining about Biden and the freaking Democrats than we do playing the game. But I can answer the whole monument thing with a question.
All right.
What's next? Are they going to burn the history books? The Civil War was a huge part of our history. More Americans died in that war than any other war we've ever fought.
Well, and they also ignore the fact that, we're a racist country, but there was a war that fought and freed the slaves.
Well, what they don't want to talk about, and I never heard any of them say this or admit it, it was the Southern Democrats' fault that there wasn't slavery and a separation, when they seceded from the Union. They wouldn't give up or budge on the slavery issue.
Yep.
So, the Republicans were, Lincoln was a Republican. The Republicans were, responsible for trying to free the slaves.
Hey, and they took down his statue in Boston a couple years back as well, an Abraham Lincoln statue with a freed slave that appeared to be kneeling at his feet, and they took it down because of optics. And that was the Emancipation Memorial, which was paid for by a group that was associated with freed slaves. It's unreal.
When I was in the Marine Corps, there were a bunch of Vietnam vets that were, my platoon sergeant and stuff like that. And they would always worry about our generation. But now looking at this generation and what they're doing to our country, they were worried about the wrong generation. Yep. They should have skipped us and, started looking at those jack wagons.
Yeah,
because they're really screwing up the country, Chris, and I don't know if there's any way we can stop it.
Yeah, they are screwing up the country, and they're doing it. It seems like they're speeding up and doing it faster and faster every single day.
It's funny because if they do get what they want and we become a socialist country, they'll be the first ones executed.
Oh, they always go after the useful idiots first. You can look at examples in history over and over and over.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, listen, Merry Christmas, and be careful on your trip, and I appreciate you guys. I listen to you all the time.
Hey, man, we appreciate you, Billy. Thanks for your service. Thanks for the call. Merry Christmas, pal. Let's go to Mika in Morrison, who has a comment on the monument. What's up, Mika?
Hey, big fan here, but I'd like to cuss them to their faces, but I'm only 16, and if I could scrape the money, I would fly to Washington. I would chain myself to that monument to keep them from taking that down. That is a piece of history that should not be taken down.
Based. Hey, man, I appreciate the call, Mika. Thanks for chiming in with your opinion. This is what's happening. It is the Confederate monument in Arlington National Cemetery. Group of Republican lawmakers are attempting to stop the Pentagon from taking it out. The Republican leading the charge, Andrew Clyde out of Georgia, and a group of lawmakers he's with penned a letter to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Monday demanding that he leaves the Reconciliation Monument, which is also known as the Confederate Memorial, untouched until at least the conclusion of the fiscal year 2024 appropriations process. The monument was supposed to be taken out by the Pentagon's Naming Commission, a group formed to rename and remove military installations named after the Confederacy. This came in the wake of the 2020 Black Lives Matter riots. This monument, I mean, it's a really nice statue, but they're saying that despite bipartisan support for the monument, the Naming Commission established by the fiscal year 2021 National Defense Authorization Act has clearly overstepped its legislative authority when it recommended that the Department of Army remove the Reconciliation Monument from Arlington National Cemetery. The Arlington National Cemetery website confirms the removal, with a section stating that as required by Congress and implemented by the Secretary of Defense, Arlington National Cemetery is required to remove the Confederate memorial located in Section 16 of ANC. I'm tired of them removing statues. I really am. This is a reconciliation statue. This is to celebrate the country, coming back together. But they still want to take this statue down. Now, calls to remove monuments and statues of American historical figures. This isn't new. New York City recently weighed a plan to remove George Washington statues as part of a new reparations plan. He's racist, right? He's racist. The Reconciliation Monument doesn't honor or commemorate the Confederacy. It commemorates reconciliation and national unity, the lawmakers' letter continued. Furthermore, the Naming Commission authority explicitly prohibits the desecration of grave sites, and there's hundreds of gravestones encircling the monument. It would be impossible for these graves to remain untouched if the Department of Army proceeds with its proposed removal of the monument, both being a clear violation of Congress's enacted statute and legislative intent. Now, Clyde, the Republican out of Georgia who is leading this charge, who penned the letter along with 43 other House Republicans, including Armed Services Committee Chairman Mike Rogers out of Alabama, they're not with it. And the plan is for the statue to be removed and to be moved to a site owned by the Virginia Military Institute. The Department of Defense must respect Congress's clear legislative intentions regarding the Naming Commission's legislative authority, and to move forward with the removal of the Reconciliation Monument would be a clear affront to the separation of powers principles outlined by our founding fathers in our Constitution, the lawmakers wrote. The Pentagon is currently facing a lawsuit over the statue's planned removal from Defend Arlington. That's a group that represents Confederate veterans, among others. And Confederate veterans are American veterans. That's just how it goes. Now, do you agree with them removing the statue? Are you with them removing the statue? 615-737-9986. I find it outrageous that they want to take this statue out, but meanwhile over in Iowa, they're allowed to have satanic symbolism in the state capitol, and that's totally fine. An Iowa lawmaker has demanded Governor Kim Reynolds remove a satanic display from the Iowa Capitol building. And Brad Sherman doesn't just want to remove the satanic mirrored caped statue of Baphomet, complete with black and red holiday wreath with a pentagram in the center, but he wants to make sure nothing like this happens again. So those are fine. Satanic statues are fine on state grounds and state capitals, but the Reconciliation Monument is not. I feel like we see this over and over and over again. Now, I lived in Richmond. My wife's family's from Charlottesville. Monument Ave in Richmond was full of beautiful statues. Robert E. Lee, Confederate generals, all down Monument Ave. They've all been since removed, replaced by nothing. They took what was a beautiful street with beautiful statues and historic significance and turned it into just another regular street. I really don't like this kind of stuff. Also, in Charlottesville, Virginia, they removed a Lewis and Clark statue featuring Sacagawea, the famous Native American woman. That was taken down in Charlottesville. Oh, it was racism because the statue's two white men, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. They're removing our history, it seems like, at a faster and faster pace. What do you think? 615-737-9986. Let's go to Curtis next. Curtis, you're on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Yes, sir. I appreciate you taking my call. I am a 21-year combat vet, multiple tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, 100% total and permanently disabled because of my service to this country.
Well, thank you for your service.
What I'll say is this. I was born and raised in Alabama. I've never cared for the Confederate flag just because it was always thrown up in your face, assumed that you're a racist because you were born in Alabama. But that monument has nothing to do with racism. The men who fight wars for this country, we don't pick them. We just go to them. And to remove that is an affront to every combat vet that every step step foot onto a battlefield at any point in time in our history. You don't have to. History's history. You don't have to like it, but you better remember it, or you're going to be forced to repeat it.
Well, and it's the reconciliation monument. It's to celebrate the country coming back together. It's like, what's next? Are they going to take away the Vietnam Vets Memorial because they're going to realize, oh, that wasn't a good war, and in 50 years they're going to remove that as well?
Yeah, this all goes back to the people complaining about how Israel is fighting the war and their innocents are dying because of the bombing. I pointed out to some young people that when I heard them talking about it, every war I fought in, innocent people died. Okay, it's ugly. War's ugly. You can't erase the history of it, and doing things like this when you try to pick and choose what is. You just got to quit trying to not offend people. It's impossible not to offend somebody. You will go nuts trying to be the, hey, I get along with everybody. So to me, this is a personal affront to every combat vet that ever had to go do time, on a battlefield somewhere. So.
Hey, man, well, thank you for your service and thank you for your call. I appreciate you adding your insight and your opinion to the conversation. It's always Democrats, though, right? It's Democrats have to remove the racism of the Democrats' past. The Democrats have to, hide what the Democrats did. That's who's doing this. The woke progressives. The Democrats were the ones that were in the Confederacy. The Democrats were the ones that pushed for segregation in the South. Oh, and the Democrats are still pushing for segregation today, as we see with the mayor of Boston, Mayor Wu, and her colored-only Christmas party that she's been caught throwing. Unbelievable. We covered that story yesterday. It's making a lot of noise today. Mayor Wu out of Boston throwing a electeds of color only Christmas party.
That's crazy.
Could you imagine if we did a whites only Christmas party? It would never go over. We would never do such a thing because it's ridiculous and it's racist. And it just seems like the Democrats are always the ones that cause this kind of stuff.
Yeah, the irony is actually pretty rich. It's crazy.
The Democrats pushed segregation in the first place, and the Democrats are pushing segregation again. Weird. The Democrats are trying to hide their history of being racist by removing the Arlington National Cemetery Reconciliation Monument. It's crazy, and the irony is lost on the left. They think that they're doing good. They do. And their supporters think that they're doing good. So, segregated Christmas parties and no statues. Biden 2024.
That's the commercial.
That's their platform that they're running on. No racist statues and no whites at holiday parties. Biden 2024. This is the left. It's unbelievable. And they take down all these statues, and it's like, where do we go next? They're going to say George Washington was a racist. They're going to say Thomas Jefferson was a racist. They do it with everybody. And they do. I mean, Thomas Jefferson's had statues removed. They try to remove George Washington's statue in New York City. They did remove the Thomas Jefferson statue from New York City Hall because they complained that it honored an enslaver. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is the left in 2023. We can't have history anymore. We're not allowed. Let's go to Bill in Dixon. Has a comment on the monument. Bill, you're next on Super Talk. What's up?
Hey, my uncle spent 32 years in the Air Force and the Marine Corps. He was from Indiana. And when he was stationed at Smyrna Air Force Base, he was upset because all of the streets were named Longstreet, Claiborne, Lee, Jackson. And he said, we won the war. But you know what? You got to shake hands and forget it. It's like having a fight at the high school. He says it's over and done with. What is wrong with these people? Take a survey of people from World War II that stormed the beaches at Normandy and ask their relatives if they think they died for this crap.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you there's videos online of World War II veterans just basically crying over the state of the country. It's unreal.
Man I know's 98 years old World War II vet, and he gets upset whenever it's on TV. It's hey, I tell you what, it's not the country I grew up. I grew up with Leave It to Beaver and all that stuff, and I never knew how I had it.
Yeah.
This is worse.
Yeah.
When you can't call a boy and a girl.
Whoa. That's bigoted nowadays, man. It's crazy.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm of that age. You either accept what I say or move on around.
No.
I don't care.
I'm with you. And I
Is
think
something wrong with that? You tell me what's wrong with that.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I think that, and that, once again, that's the left.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I called you about the Confederate Memorial. I was born in Indiana, and the most segregation place I ever worked in my life is Boston, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not in the South. We got past that a long time ago.
Amen. No, and I remember when I moved from Boston to Richmond, Virginia, everybody's like, "Oh, you got to look out. It's racist in the South." And I remember thinking like, that it's not, fellas. It's not.
No. Still, I don't know if it's true or not. I still think they don't bus in Boston. I don't think they ever.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I do know that they like segregated holiday parties, and they ban whites from their holiday parties. I do know that.
Oh, even when the Bruins or the Sox win, they ban them from.
Hey, that'll probably be up next. If the Bruins or the Sox win a championship, they'll probably have a no whites championship parade. They'll just do that to, promote unity or something.
I enjoy your show. You take care.
Hey, man, I appreciate you calling in, Bill. It's 10:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It is getting cold outside, so it's time to make sure that your heating system has been serviced the best way, the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling way. Now, don't wait for a problem to pop up with your heat. Or maybe you're starting to notice a problem is popping up with your heat. Well, be proactive. Get your unit in tip-top shape. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Whether you need annual maintenance, repair, or a replacement heating and air system, call who I trust, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You're not going to find a better value on replacement systems. Plus, these guys offer up to 12 months, no payment, no interest, with approved credit, and it pays in so many ways to sign up for the annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems from Busy Bee. Plus, for added rewards and savings, sign up to be a Beehive member. You get front-of-the-line service in case your heating system goes down so you don't get stuck out in the cold. Plus, thorough annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems with no overtime charges, 24/7 service, and 10% off all repairs. Remember, they have convenient Saturday availability for those maintenance calls, and you'll never be left out in the cold. Busy Bee, your rude pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833 or online, busybeehvac.com.
Good morning. It is now 11 o'clock and it's 48 degrees. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Right now, behind closed doors in Washington, D.C., the House Judiciary Committee is questioning Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf. Now, she is the attorney who's accused of limiting questions related to President Biden during the federal investigation into Hunter Biden. Fox News is reporting that before she began that testimony, she informed the committee she is no longer employed by the Justice Department. An IRS whistleblower also said that Wolf stopped investigators from serving a search warrant on Hunter Biden's residence in 2020. Meantime, the White House is denying that it's stonewalling GOP investigators after the House approved a measure to move along the impeachment investigation into President Biden.
Republicans accused the White House of, quote, I'll quote directly from a statement from Speaker Johnson last night, of stonewalling lawful congressional subpoenas, and says that vote yesterday to formalize the impeachment inquiry strengthens their case in court if they want to go enforce those subpoenas. Democrats in the White House paint the exact opposite picture, saying Republicans have had access to a number of different kinds of interviews and thousands of pages of documents.
That's ABC's Jay Bryan. Well, we've got our eyes on the roads, and if you plan to travel this holiday season, you certainly won't be alone. More than 2.5 million others are going to hit Tennessee roads, too, between December 23rd and January 1st. AAA is saying that the best time to start your trip is before lunch or after dinner. The airports will be jamming, too, with about 74,000 Tennesseans planning to take a flight. As always, they say, pack your patience. And a scary story out of Massachusetts, where a 32-year-old woman is facing felony charges for posing as a high school student. Shelby Hewitt was actually a social worker.
Boston public school officials alerted authorities this summer after administrators discovered a DCF form had been filled out incorrectly, and the social worker listed on the form was not actually an employee there. Prosecutors say Hewitt didn't act alone. She had 2 purported foster parents, one of whom is another social worker.
That's ABC's Trevor Alt. Hewitt's attorney says she has some mental problems. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
We really are passionate about our state. It's so beautiful, and we just want people and all Tennesseans to help us keep it that way. We really want to make sure that, our beauty, and from, west to east to even middle Tennessee, we want to make sure it's nice and clean for everyone to enjoy. I like to get people to volunteer and to get out there and keep our world clean, man. Litter's disgusting. No one likes it.
That's right. Yeah, if you ask my wife, I've always said, keep Tennessee beautiful. That's kind of been, I think I found a T-shirt or something a long time ago.
It's that marketing.
Yeah.
Really good job.
It's like,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sense in throwing your trash out the window or when you're hunting or fishing, leaving the trash there on the bank or whatever. It's not worth it.
Currently, there are 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee roadways at any given time in this state.
Wow.
And TDOT currently spends $23 million on picking up the litter, educating about the litter.
The Nobody Trashes Tennessee campaign, there's some great videos out there. And I was watching the litter lessons and the show and get to know the Red Plastic Cup. Tell us a bit about the campaign and some of those characters. That's pretty neat.
So Red Plastic Cup, he thinks he's a movie star.
Uh-huh.
He thinks, he's just the greatest thing ever. So he started off with a talk show, and then he got a movie. And in our movie, he got, more characters, and we had experts, water quality expert was Sal, the smallmouth bass.
Yeah.
And his bodyguard is Trash Watch. And if, we can go into Trash Watch a little bit too, but love Trash Watch.
11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Now, this next story I want to talk about, I'm unaware of the authenticity or the accuracy, but I want to report on what the conversation is taking place online. And it's going crazy online, spreading like wildfire. There's a claim that Etsy, the online shop, is unwittingly being used as a hub for child porn and child trafficking. It's a super serious accusation. And I just want to share the information with you and the conversation that's happening online and let you kind of, do your own research, because I think that it's an important conversation to have, because as we've seen in recent weeks, there's a lot of conversation about child sexual exploitation happening online. We saw that New Mexico is suing Zuckerberg's Meta over child sexual exploitation, claiming criminals are using pizza as code on Facebook and Instagram, notably cheese pizza, because it shares the initials with child porn. Well, there's a story developing online that Etsy is allegedly unwittingly being used as a hub for child porn and child trafficking. So I just want to read you the information and kind of see where you're at and what your thoughts are. It's very reminiscent of the Wayfair scandal that happened a couple years back. There's a lot of suspicious listings on Etsy that have people wondering if it's actually child porn or children in general for sale, for sex on the e-commerce site. Now, for example, one listing has picture of pizza listed for sale for $9,000. A picture of pizza listed for sale for $9,000. And the listing reads, delivery instant download. In the photo, there's also a cell phone strategically placed inside the pizza box. It's really weird. Now, it's well established that the word pizza is a pedophile code, and that's been established by the FBI, the DOJ, other law enforcement documents, and mainstream media articles from the Wall Street Journal. Okay? So it's part of the reason why these listings are shocking and alarming. Also, authorities have been able to bust many pedophiles because they use pizza as pedophile code in an attempt to arrange raping children or exchanging child porn. Earlier this year, Eric Carnell, who's the British designer behind Aprelin, an LGBTQ brand that sells satanic-themed T-shirts, sweaters, bags, and badges, announced on his Instagram page that Target removed all of his products. However, Etsy still allowed him to have a store where he sold products that have statements like Satan respects pronouns. Like, you see stuff like this on Etsy. It's not, but I don't know if that's like the worst of it. But as you go down these rabbit holes, there's so many suspicious listings on these e-commerce sites. And the word is that this is really ramped up since President Trump's Department of Justice took down Backpage, which Backpage was a website that child sex traffickers and pedophiles had used, and they say that they've relocated their business somewhere else. Just something to keep in mind. Also, Biden's administration, which some people claim is running state-sponsored, child sex trafficking because of the open border. They're saying that this is alarming. Now, to Etsy, so many pictures are being posted on Etsy. And again, I see this one listing where it says on Etsy, Etsy.com, picture of pizza, $9,000 with 2 open boxes of pizza and a cell phone in the pizza box. The delivery is an instant download. Or another listing where it's a AI-generated picture of a little girl winking eating a slice of pizza. And it says pizza file, instant download, encrypted. The cost is $4,000. Sold from Yummy Yum Pizza. Or how about this one? It's another artificial intelligence image of a young boy winking with the name Chicken File, instant download, encrypted, $4,000. Is Etsy being used unwittingly as a child porn trafficking hub? I mean, there's a lot of these listings that are shocking. Cheese pizza picture, instant download, $3,000. Now, the seller that had been posting these undeniably strange listings has been since taken down. But it's not shocking that alarm bells are going off. But what's curious is that this Yummy Yum Pizza that was posting a lot of these items on Etsy has shut down. Now, a lot of these original listings are still archived and available online that you can find yourself. I got this story from revolver.news, and the original listings are being saved and posted on sites like 4chan, and people are talking about this and calling it out. Now, one of the original listings up that are still up on 4chan was apparently scrubbed from Etsy, and you can still find them on the UK version of Etsy. And the description, a beautiful, steamy, delicious JPEG of a pepperoni and cheese pizza, set to tease your taste buds craving the real thing. Made with the finest ingredients far and wide. Instant download. At thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. Again, I can't verify the accuracy of this, and there's under no circumstances would I suggest that anybody purchase any of these things, but it's undeniable that pedophiles, traffickers, pornographers use cheese pizza and pizza as code for the evil that they do. And we know that as New Mexico Democrat Attorney General Raul Torres has filed suit against Meta and CEO Mark Zuckerberg and associated entities like Instagram and Facebook in an effort to curb child sexual exploitation on its platforms. These lawsuits reveal that these perverts are using the word pizza as code for child porn to hide their criminal behavior. And their investigation into Meta's social media platform demonstrates that they're not safe spaces for children, but rather prime locations for predators to trade child pornography, solicit minors for sex. That's what the Attorney General of New Mexico, Raul Torres, said in a statement. Of course, we don't see advertisers boycotting Meta over this. And there's so many examples of this pizza being used in pedophile networks. Earlier this year, the Wall Street Journal uncovered a Pizzagate pedophile network. The Wall Street Journal said pedophilic accounts on Instagram mix brazenness with superficial efforts to veil their activity. Researchers found certain emojis function as a kind of code, such as an image of a map, shorthanded for minor attracted person, or one of cheese pizza because it shares its initials with child pornography. This is according to people from UMass, the college UMass. Many of these profiles declare themselves lovers of the little things in life. There's more codes where pizza is being used. There's more cases where pizza is being used as a code word. The FBI reported that now arrested Clint Harden, who worked at Texas A&M, used the pedophile code word pizza in chats to discuss child porn. Harden faces charges of receiving and possessing child pornography. And it opens that door to the conversation and the infamous conspiracy theories surrounding Pizzagate to be revisited, I think. I think that this is a known code, and I don't want to alarm you, but it appears it's happening on Etsy. And here's what folks are saying about the mysterious situation on Etsy. They're saying Etsy had the nerve to kick me off for selling things I didn't make myself. There are millions of items on Etsy that are not handmade, including selling children by the looks of it. You've noticed all the kids from the store are winking, one eye. Another person said, someone just posted another picture of a little girl with pizza that was on Etsy for $4,000. Then it was removed. Are all these online companies involved in child trafficking and child porn? Good Lord. Somebody else said it was happening with Balenciaga. Another person said, not sure what's going on here. Not one to jump to conclusions, but it seems strange to say the least. Strange to say the least. $4,000 for a instant download of an encrypted instant download of a picture of pizza. Strange to say the least. Horrifying at worst. But they say everything you stated sounds like backdoor child trafficking on the site. Simply asking, how does the site Etsy explain paying this amount for a picture of pizza? The ads on Etsy are suspicious, to say the least. And I think it's on the nose that there's a real possibility that people are doing this. And there's also a possibility that it's a publicity hoax. That is a possibility. I'm not going to go buy any of these things to verify this because I don't want to see any of that stuff. But I think that it's definitely creepy and bizarre. Definitely creepy and bizarre. And when you see these lawsuits from the New Mexico Attorney General, you see that the FBI acknowledges that pizza is used as code on Facebook and Instagram, and states are suing Facebook and Instagram over this stuff. It's like, is it a stretch to believe that this could be happening on Etsy? Is it a stretch? Maybe it's a hoax, but it's a conversation that's happening online. I want to bring the conversation here for you, and I want to know what you think about it. 615-737-9986. 9811 says, sounds pretty willing to me. Jeff texted in and said, I doubt it's unwittingly. Sally texted in and said, what if the seller is duping perverts into actually downloading photos of pizza for $9,000? If the buyer reports it as fraud, busted. Maybe that's the case. I hope so. 7547 texted in and said, Telegram is much worse. CP, drugs, and firearms. It always shocks me, though, that they can take down misinformation about a COVID vaccine, but something like this stays up. The algorithm can't find these and stop these. 8152 text in said, is law enforcement investigating? I haven't seen any indications that law enforcement is investigating this. The only thing I've seen is that this conversation has been going online now for about a week and a half, and I've been waiting patiently before I bring it to you because I think it's shocking, but I also don't want to jump the gun on this kind of stuff and say Etsy is involved in a Pizzagate type scandal. But the conversation isn't going away. And some of these things about rumors, they say when a rumor doesn't go away, it's because it's true. I don't know if this is true, but I do want to bring it up. And I do think that we should start the conversation because you look at sites like Facebook and Instagram, mainstream sites that are being sued, claiming criminals are using pizza as code. So to see it on Etsy, where these instant downloads are for $4,000, $9,000, encrypted downloads for pictures of pizza, it's definitely shocking. It's definitely jarring. I don't know if there's a lot of authenticity to this, but it's creepy. It's creepy and weird. And scary. Because we know that these sick individuals are out there. We know it. We know it. 4269. Dude, Chris, those pedos are creepy AF. Or crafty AF. This absolutely sounds like an approach that would be in their wheelhouse. Well, that's the thing I'm saying. And we see that Zuckerberg's Meta is being sued over this. Criminals on their platforms using pizza as code. So I don't think it's too far of a stretch I don't know the authenticity of it, but the conversation's happening online. I wanted to bring the conversation here for you. It's 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We really are passionate about our state. It's so beautiful, and we just want people and all Tennesseans to help us keep it that way. We really want to make sure that, our beauty, and from, west to east to even middle Tennessee, we want to make sure it's nice and clean for everyone to enjoy. I like to get people to volunteer and to get out there and keep our world clean, man. Litter's disgusting. No one likes it.
That's right. Yeah, if you ask my wife, I've always said, keep Tennessee beautiful. That's kind of been, I think I found a T-shirt or something a long time ago.
It's that marketing.
Yeah.
Really good job.
It's like,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no sense in throwing your trash out the window or when you're hunting or fishing, leaving the trash there on the bank or whatever. It's not worth it.
Currently, there are 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee roadways at any given time in this state.
Wow.
And TDOT currently spends $23 million on picking up the litter, educating about the litter.
The Nobody Trashes Tennessee campaign. There's some great videos out there. And I was watching the litter lessons and the show and get to know the Red Plastic Cup. Tell us a bit about the campaign and some of those characters. That's pretty neat.
So Red Plastic Cup, he thinks he's a movie star.
Uh-huh.
He thinks, he's just the greatest thing ever. So he started off with a talk show, and then he got a movie. And in our movie, he got, more characters, and we had experts, water quality expert was Sal, the smallmouth bass.
Yeah.
And his bodyguard is Trash Watch. And if, we can go into Trash Watch a little bit too, but love Trash Watch.
Coming up here on WTN, the NDAA gets the okay, and apparently there's gummy bear danger in elementary schools. We've got that coming up this morning at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. Yeah, me and Mac were talking off air. The Wayfair scandal. It always made sense to me, their explanation. It's like, they were accused of the same thing online. Child trafficking, but it was like, it always made sense to me, like a filing cabinet for $25,000. Like, it's a lot easier to just raise the price so nobody buys it. Like that explanation made sense to me. An HD encrypted download of a picture of pizza for $9,000. It's a little weird. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if there's any authenticity to the story. I just think that it's a conversation that's being had online, and I wanted to bring it to you and make you aware of it. Also, happening an hour ago, the NDAA passes the House with bipartisan support. FISA Section 702 gets a clean 4-month renewal, and the FBI can continue surveying Americans without a warrant. So, hey, there's a big win for corruption. Big loss for the Constitution. Again. Right? I mean, is this shocking to you? We all knew it was going to be reauthorized. At least I felt like it was going to be reauthorized. Some people are disappointed about it. There's some names on there that kind of stuck out to me that agreed to it. Like Elise Stefanik. Interesting. I didn't see any of our guys in Tennessee on the list. Did you see any of our guys in Tennessee on the list voting to reauthorize this?
Did not.
I did not either. Oh, Scott Desjardins. Scott Desjardins voted for it. I wonder why he voted for it. I bet you Dan will have him on. Him and Dan are tight. He'll probably get him on to talk about it. But a lot of people are upset. A lot of people are upset that this is passed. Rep. Barry Moore said, "I am disappointed that the divisive policies which hold service members and taxpayers hostage to the Democrats' radical agenda have been included in the National Defense Authorization Act. I cannot support it." And Rep. Barry Moore put out a statement. This is from Rep. Barry Moore is out of Alabama. His statement said, this version of the NDAA forces American taxpayers to fund abortion travel, sex reassignment surgeries, a 1-year reauthorization of FISA with no reforms, which allows weaponized government to spy on Americans, and critical race theory initiatives that teach our nation's enemies, teaching that our nation's enemies are not abroad, but within our own citizens and military, said Moore. Earlier this year, I proudly supported the House version of this legislation, which was truly focused on military readiness and service member needs. I am disappointed that divisive policies which hold service members and taxpayers hostage to the Democrats' radical agenda have been included in this bill, and I cannot support it. That was Congress Rep. Barry Moore out of Alabama. Our friend of the show, Andy Ogles, he posted a tweet. He said, as if the DEI trainings and funding for drag shows wasn't enough, today's NDAA also contained $600 million for Ukraine and not a dime for our southern border. My vote? Hell no. That was Andy Ogles. Interesting. I mean, it's to me, it's like, I agree with what Robbie Starbuck put out. He said, Robbie Starbuck put out a tweet, the House just voted to continue to allow intelligence agencies to spy on American citizens without a warrant. The bill they passed also allows your tax money to be used to pay for people's sex change surgeries. Another reminder that most elected officials don't care about you and your rights. They care about special interests and big donors. 163 Democrats voted in favor of this. 147 Republicans voted in favor of this. 73 Republicans voted against it. 45 Democrats voted against it. 6 reps didn't vote. So, when people talk about the Uniparty, I feel like this is another example of that. This is the Uniparty. Man, Desjardins voted for it. That's disappointing. I like Desjardins. I don't know. I didn't see any other Tennesseans on the list. Did not. No Tim Burchett. No Andy Ogles. Desjardins there. What about... Yep, I don't see any others. Maybe I'm missing one. I'll look at this list while we hit the break and Joan Jones delivers some news and see if any other Tennesseans are on it. It's a big list. 147 Republicans saying yay for the NDAA reauthorization. Interesting. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's the news.
11:30 on the dot. It's 54 degrees, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Got your full forecast in a couple of minutes. Well, they did pass it, the House okaying the National Defense Authorization Act, or the NDAA. Among other things, it includes a short-term extension of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. That's the one seen by Republicans as a threat to the privacy of ordinary Americans. Meantime, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan is heading to Israel today. He's got a series of high-level talks about the war in Gaza and what can be done to free the more than 130 hostages still being held there. In rural Virginia, a couple of people have been charged after some elementary school students were rushed to the hospital when they snacked on gummy candies. Turns out the candy was laced with fentanyl.
I was at lunch and he had some gummies in a bag, so I asked him for some. He gave me some.
Yeah, he gave him some. 5 of those fourth graders required a trip to the hospital. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
So, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Chris Hand. I tweeted out the link to that Revolver article on Etsy in case you want to check it out. My Twitter is @ChrisHandOnAir. Don't forget, you can take us wherever you go. Listen to us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, or the 99.7 WTN app. You can grab that in your app store. I did want to have a story. FBI, DHS, they have a new warning out. The warning is about lone actor violence at protests and holiday-related public gatherings. Love it. I'd love to see it, right? Sure, it has nothing to do with our wide-open southern border and suspects on the terror watch list sneaking in. But the warning from the FBI and DHS said that new escalations in the conflict between Israel and Hamas may exacerbate the threat of violence. The FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the National Counterterrorism Center have issued a warning about the potential for lone actor violence at protests and holiday-related public gatherings due to Israel's war on Hamas. This from a couple days ago. The public service announcement said ongoing tensions related to the conflict are likely to heighten the threat of lone actor violence targeting large public gatherings throughout the winter, including holiday-related, faith-based New Year's Eve and First Amendment-protected events related to the conflict. Although this announcement is not in response to any specific plotting activity, these targets likely remain attractive to lone actors inspired by a range of ideologies due to their accessibility and symbolic nature, the announcement continued. I mean, since October 7th, the agencies wrote, various foreign terrorist media organizations have called for lone wolf attacks in the United States. They say lone actors may seek to disrupt or escalate violence at large gatherings, high-profile events, or symbolic or religious locations throughout the winter. Such gatherings could become a convenient target for those inspired to commit violence against Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Arab communities. The agencies also said that there has been an increase in hoax bomb threats targeting synagogues. And the warning said that the escalations in the conflict between Israel and Hamas are exacerbating the threat of violence. They say, we therefore urge everyone to remain vigilant and report any threats of violence or suspicious activity to law enforcement. FBI and DHS are particularly attuned in this environment to the concerns of Jewish, Arab American, and Muslim communities and will continue to engage directly with the leaders in these communities to ensure that available resources are utilized. You know, to me, I just go back to the open border, the wide open border. That's what's exacerbating the threat. The fact that we don't have real border security in this country. It's crazy. In fact, in Mexico, 2 Iranian migrants on the FBI watch list. Mexican authorities detained them. To which I say, thanks, Mexico. But yeah, Mexican immigration authorities detained a group of 5 Middle Eastern migrants who were trying to reach the U.S. border. 2 of those were on an FBI watch list. Those arrests took place last week along the highway that connects Mexican cities of Tecate and Tijuana. A statement from Mexico's National Migration Institute revealed. Agents found the migrants at a checkpoint along the highway where Mexican authorities spotted a vehicle with a Mexican license plate being driven by a Haitian man. The vehicle contained 5 Middle Eastern men who Mexican authorities claimed had the intention of illegally crossing into the U.S. It's always alarming when somebody gets caught in one of these situations and you wonder how many didn't get caught. How many slid through? Mexican officials reported that 5 Middle Eastern men were from Iran and that 2 of them were on an FBI watch list. They did not reveal details about the FBI's interests in the 2 Iranian men. But we see this a lot lately. I mean, we saw Breitbart had an exclusive 100 Syrians, 100 Syrians, 50 Iranians crossed Biden's open border in October. There's another one. 5 migrants on terror watch list arrested near Arizona border post Title 42. Nearly 150 illegal aliens on the terrorist watch list encountered at U.S. border in the past year. We see it nonstop. So does this report shock you? It doesn't really shock me. It's one of those things I've kind of been waiting for the other shoe to drop on this with the wide open southern border. I mean, I'm honestly surprised that we haven't seen an escalation in this already. You know, they say if we don't fund Ukraine, it's a national security threat. We have a national security threat at our border. And we know that these individuals on terror watch lists are being encountered at the border, are getting through. You know, when they say nearly 150 illegal aliens on the terrorist watch list have been encountered at the U.S. border in the past year, that's the ones that have been encountered. That's not the ones that got through. Border is a mess. So what are they doing about the border? Well, here's a story for you. Biden's TSA designated a special airport screening line for illegal aliens without required ID. Nice. Oh, that's not really the plan I was looking for, but I guess it's a plan. In Tucson, Arizona, migrants, illegal aliens, recently released by the Border Patrol, wait patiently to board flights leaving the region at the Tucson International Airport. The event marks their last day on the southwest border and their first day of free movement across the U.S. So they have special airport screening lines. And there's literally a sign, a TSA sign, that says non-U.S. citizens without passports, this lane only, enter here. Crazy. As Breitbart Texas watched, several regular travelers were politely told to exit the special migrant security line because they were not non-citizens. The illegal aliens traveling when they did this report carried manila envelopes that contained a notice to appear and documents showing that the aliens were released from federal custody on their own recognizance. None of the computer-generated documents bear photographs of the migrants or appear on the list of the TSA acceptable identification. So just rules for you and me, not illegal aliens. Breitbart Texas spoke to several migrant family groups. I love the way they manipulate the language. Migrant family groups who said they were waiting for an afternoon flight to LaGuardia Airport in Queens, New York. The migrants who were brought to the airport by non-government migrant shelter volunteers who escorted small groups of migrants through the terminal prior to takeoff time. The guide that was with them explained the layout of the airport. The illegal aliens were guided to the ticketing and baggage area and subsequently directed to the TSA security checkpoint for non-U.S. citizens without passports. Now, if you or I are traveling, we need a driver's license, a passport. You need your IDs. You need all the things. Not illegal aliens, though. No. They don't even need something with a picture on it. And according to current TSA regulations, adult passengers 18 and older must show valid ID at the airport checkpoint to travel. I'm going to Phoenix this afternoon. Now, if I went to BNA and I didn't have a government-issued photo-bearing ID card, I would be turned around. But not if you're an illegal alien. There's a caveat at the bottom of the list. Reads, in coordination with its DHS counterparts, TSA has identified acceptable alternate identification for use in special circumstances at the checkpoint. And this refers to procedures that allow illegal aliens released by Border Patrol to board aircraft without any identification. So rules for you, not illegal aliens. Crazy, right? Crazy. Now, this also follows the fact that an Arizona border town remains shut amidst an uncontrolled flow of illegal aliens. Lukeville, Arizona, there's a warning sign that's been placed at the entrance of the Organ Pipe National Monument area, recommending tourists refrain from entering the National Monument area due to ongoing customs and border protection operations. Nearby, the town of Lukeville is completely shut down and void of human presence. At the same time, Breitbart, Texas, witnessed a constant flow of mostly African migrants crossing the border wall and walking through the Organ Pipe National Monument, hoping to secure their freedom in the United States. The Breitbart video shows signage placed by CBP at one entrance to the monument, cautioning travelers to stay out, but offering no clue as to why. After driving past the sign, Breitbart, Texas observed Customs and Border Patrol Office of Field Operations personnel, those that are normally tasked with inspecting legitimate travelers and cargo at the port of entry, shut down because of illegal alien crossings, performing duties once reserved for Border Patrol agents. The Lukeville Port of Entry is completely void of any legitimate trade and travel currently. As Border Patrol personnel driving vans and buses, they shuttle migrants to processing facilities from the Organ Pipe National Monument Reserve. That's what they're doing. There's a video that shows a line of migrants stretching basically forever, walking on a self-guided quest along the border wall, searching for Border Patrol agents to surrender to. Yep, they want to surrender. Then they can get their plane ticket to New York and be off into the interior of the country. The illegal aliens ultimately do find, personnel to surrender to. And then they get shuttled to, staging areas where they can be processed. How much is this costing the taxpayer? I mean, the fact that the port of entry shut down, that has to be a loss in revenue. And the port in Lukeville has been closed for more than a week, rattling the few local business operations who rely on tourist travel for their livelihood. I don't think any tourists are going there. A convenience store, a restaurant, and a duty-free shop are closed on Tuesday and will likely remain closed until the port reopens. So it's not only just is it wasting your tax dollars, but it's also costing American citizens revenue every single day. And the reopening date for this port remains a mystery. According to one employee at a Food Mart fueling station in Y, Arizona, the store, which is 30 miles from Lukeville, provides services to local residents, but it relies heavily on cross-border travelers for revenue. So it's hurting American citizens. It's hurting business. Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs visited Lukeville over the weekend after sending a scathing letter to the White House criticizing the closure of the port of entry. Hobbs is demanding $512 million in federal funds to offset state expenses to cope with the illegal alien surge into her state. Hobbs described the closure of the port, writing, "The decision to close the Lukeville port of entry has led to an unmitigated humanitarian crisis in the area and has put Arizona's safety and commerce at risk." This is the country on Democrats. This is the border on Democrats. They need to get it under control because it's unsustainable and it's a national security threat. The time is 11:48. Matt Murphy's going to check in with us next. Let us know what we can expect on Murphy's show this afternoon. I'm sure that he is going to have many thoughts on the reauthorization of the NDAA. I can't wait to ask him about that. Hang out with us. It's 11:48 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Coming up here on WTN, Vladimir Putin may be ready to free some detained Americans. And Tennessee ranks at the top of one CDC sick list. We'll explain. Those stories coming up at noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan Jones. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, 11:55. Matt Murphy joining me in studio. Instant thoughts on the NDAA reauthorization.
Garbage. We will discuss 12:05. It's awful. It's garbage. I'm not going to be lectured by a bunch of Republicans telling me the necessity to re-up FISA when you won't do something about the southern border, and stop telling me you don't have the ability to do something about the southern border. You have 1/2 of 1/3 of government. You can force that. Anyway, don't mean to go off. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm good.
By the way, can I say something real quick before we get too far away from it?
Yeah.
I don't like Joan Jones. I don't like her on the radio. I don't like what we're doing here. I don't like any of it, and I'm going to tell you why.
Oh.
She's making every single one of us look bad. And I don't like it.
Oh, stop.
I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. I don't like it a bit.
Think how I feel. I got to go back in the newsroom later.
I have been taking
Maybe. I hear they want to see you downstairs.
You guys are kind.
She sounds good.
Yeah.
She's good.
She's great.
McMorey, B-.
Yeah.
Joan Jones, A+.
Yeah, he started the
Yeah, but he's
musical.
got really nice hair.
It's flowing.
Thank you.
See?
I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Here we go.
Mac Moore uses a conditioner. All right.
Here we go.
More on that
I'm
later.
just reconfirming the Cougar Chow nickname. Yeah, there you go.
So does this, when you look at the 147 Republican votes for yay,
By the way,
are you finally in on the uniparty?
I love how Han's like, look, I'm just serious stuff here, guys. Come on. And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I fight against the whole uniparty stuff. I do think that there are fundamental differences between conservatives and liberals. There are fundamental differences, you would want to believe between Republicans. That I just hate how Republicans snatch victory from the jaws of defeat or defeat from the jaws of it. I don't understand what they're thinking, but I understand what they'll say.
What are they going to say?
They'll say, well, Matt, it's very serious. We live in serious times, and terrorism abounds around the globe. And with the war in Israel and the war against international terrorism based in, all of this nonsense. When the southern border, there are people pouring across the southern border, and everyone expects. We don't predict. We expect that there will be a terrorist attack in the United States of America because of the southern border.
We've seen terror watch list suspects being apprehended, and it's always nice that they're apprehended, but what about the ones that weren't?
And how about voting? You have an ability in the House of Representatives to, I give them kudos yesterday. They were unified in their impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden. Good for you. How about some unification now saying, no, we're not going to reauthorize this until we get a commitment to secure the southern border, which is the most important security threat that we face.
There's nothing more important than the southern border.
No.
Right now. It's wide open. There are towns in Arizona that are completely shut down because of this thing.
And if and I hear a lot about, good, and I've long said there, but for the grace of God go I, right? If I was born in Guatemala and I was trying to raise a family and I felt like I could commit what I would consider a victimless crime, crossing the border to make more money for my family, I'd probably do it too. I don't blame those people. But if those people recognize that this is a honeypot right now, the bad people do too.
100%.
The people that want to do America harm are coming to our southern border and coming into this but FISA.
There are some names on here that don't shock me. Like Dan Crenshaw voting for it doesn't shock me. McCarthy voting for it doesn't shock me. McHenry voting for it doesn't shock me. Lauren Boebert voting for it?
Odd.
It's a little weird. Didn't she make her name off being a MAGA Republican?
Well, the only Democrat that you've been able to identify from Tennessee, the Republican was from Desjardins, right?
That's the only one I've been able to see.
I've got a message out for him. See if he'll call us this afternoon and explain his vote.
Steve Scalise voted for it. That's Johnson
odd.
voted for it. Elise Stefanik.
Well, how else are they going to go home and be with their families on Christmas?
Oh, yeah, you got to get home for Christmas.
Got to leave town, which is what they're trying to do.
Got to get home for Christmas.
Jerks. Bunch of jerks.
Hang out with Murphy. He's on his way in next. He's I don't know if you guys noticed this. He's hot right now.
Hot.
He's hot.
Hot from cooking.
Hanging out with you till 3. Matt Murphy up next. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning or good afternoon now. It's noontime, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Right now, we've got 57 degrees. We'll add a couple of more this afternoon. We've got more in the full forecast in just a couple of minutes. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that there